Yo, DripFeed fam, get ready to dive headfirst into the hottest stories hitting your screens. We're kicking things off with a major moment for Stephen King fans. 2025 is shaping up to be an absolute banner year for his adaptations, with not one, not two, but three incredible films already captivating audiences. First up, we're talking about the critically acclaimed The Life of Chuck, a film that's already generating Oscar buzz and proving that Stephen King's non-horror tales can hit just as hard. Then, get ready to be thrilled and chilled by Osgood Perkins' The Monkey, a horror comedy that's being hailed as one of the best in years, packed with gore and laughs. But the King adaptations don't stop there. We're also breaking down Francis Lawrence's The Long Walk, a brutal dystopian thriller that's sparking major conversations, especially around its shocking ending. And if you thought that was intense, we're also revisiting Mike Flanagan's Gerald's Game, an underrated psychological masterpiece that deserves all the attention. It's a massive year for Stephen King on screen, and we're covering it all. You do not want to miss this deep dive. Smash that like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a drop. 2025 is the year of Stephen King adaptations, and the reviews are in. It's officially a golden age for Stephen King fans, with 2025 delivering a trio of diverse and critically lauded film adaptations: The Life of Chuck, The Monkey, and The Long Walk. The Life of Chuck, directed by Mike Flanagan, is being hailed as a potential Oscar contender, drawing comparisons to cinematic masterpieces like The Shawshank Redemption for its profound emotional impact and life-affirming message. This adaptation, based on King's non-horror work, has deeply resonated with audiences, offering a rare cinematic balm for the soul. Complementing this is Osgood Perkins' The Monkey, a wildly entertaining horror comedy that takes a Stephen King short story and injects it with gory delights and sharp humor. Critics are praising its devilish sense of fun and its position as a standout in the horror comedy genre. Rounding out the impressive lineup is The Long Walk, Francis Lawrence's adaptation of King's early novel. While perhaps not reaching the same heights as the other two for some, it's still recognized as a compelling and timely piece of social commentary, offering a stark look at a dystopian future. Collectively, these films showcase the breadth of Stephen King's storytelling, from heartwarming dramas to terrifying thrillers and dark comedies. The success of The Life of Chuck began building momentum a year ago, securing an audience award at TIFF, while The Monkey and The Long Walk have solidified 2025 as a landmark year for King's cinematic legacy. Audiences and critics alike are celebrating the sheer quality and variety of these adaptations, with many already marking them as potential contenders for year-end best of lists. The anticipation for future King projects, like Edgar Wright's The Running Man, only adds to the excitement. Don't go anywhere, because what follows is a deep dive into the brutal and controversial ending of The Long Walk. And stick around as we explore why another Stephen King film, Gerald's Game, is an absolute must-watch masterpiece. The Long Walk, a brutal B-movie that revisits King's raw, rebellious spirit. Francis Lawrence's adaptation of Stephen King's The Long Walk is being hailed as the B-movie of the year, a raw and unvarnished cinematic experience that harkens back to the author's early, more visceral storytelling. This film dives into a totalitarian near-future USA where teenage contestants participate in a grueling, cross-country death march. The premise, born from a young King's ambition in the 1960s, feels disturbingly relevant today, reflecting societal anxieties about control and sacrifice. The Long Walk stands apart from the more polished, critically revered King adaptations. While films like The Life of Chuck aim for Oscar prestige and The Monkey delivers sharp horror comedy, The Long Walk embraces its B-movie roots. It features a lean, hungry aesthetic set against a backdrop of distressed Americana, with a standout performance from Cooper Hoffman as the stoic Ray Garrity. The film is described as Stand By Me by way of the Battery Farm, highlighting its blend of coming-of-age themes with a brutal, inescapable contest where first prize is your heart's desire. Second prize, you're fired. This adaptation is seen as a powerful reminder of Stephen King's extensive bibliography, which rivals even the MCU in sheer volume of screen treatments. Unlike the curated Kingstone of more acclaimed films, The Long Walk taps into the dodgy 80s and 90s estates of King's work, properties that might be tawdry, disreputable, and sometimes downright hazardous, but retain a crude, rude energy. Critics suggest that by sidestepping the reverence often afforded to King's later work, the filmmakers have connected with the punk kid author he once was. The film is professional and well-acted, but its bleakness and brutality offer a much-needed throwback to King's rascally past, proving that some of his earliest, rawest tales remain uncrushable. But what happens when the contest comes down to the wire and the ending takes a shocking turn? And before we go, we're shining a spotlight on a truly underrated Stephen King gem that you absolutely need to watch. The Long Walk's ending, a shocking twist that redefines Stephen King's brutal vision. Francis Lawrence's film adaptation of Stephen King's The Long Walk has audiences buzzing, not just for its harrowing narrative, but for its game-changing, darker conclusion that diverges significantly from the original novel. The film plunges viewers into a brutal contest where only one teenage contestant can survive a relentless cross-country walk. The story culminates in a nail-biting showdown between the last two walkers, Ray Garrity and Peter McVrees. A pivotal moment occurs when Stebbins, revealed as the Major's illegitimate son, collapses, leaving Garrity and McVrees as the final contenders. As the crowd anticipates a winner, Peter McVrees makes a stunning decision. He stops walking, urging Ray to claim the prize. Ray refuses, pushing Peter to continue, but then Ray himself halts, accepting his final warning. In a chilling turn, the Major personally executes Ray. Peter is declared the winner, but instead of triumph, he's consumed by grief. When asked for his prize, Peter, rather than wishing to change the rules, requests a soldier's carbine. The Major, confident Peter won't relinquish his victory, is taken by surprise when Peter calmly aims the weapon, declares this is for Ray, shoots and kills the Major, and then walks away into the distance. This cinematic ending transforms the bleak narrative into something far heavier, focusing on Peter's grief and rage as he enacts a vengeful act before continuing his walk. This contrasts sharply with King's novel, where Peter is the first of the final three to drop out, and Garrity wins by default after Stebbins collapses. Garrity, however, is left broken, hallucinating a phantom opponent and walking into oblivion. While the book leaves Garrity lost in madness, the film shifts the focus to Peter's defiance and destruction, highlighting how the system corrupts its participants. Screenwriter J.T. Malner leans into the wish element of the contest, showing how the system breaks the boys, stripping them of innocence, and turning their desires into instruments of destruction. This adaptation powerfully connects King's original 1970s commentary on young people sacrificed by systems beyond their control to contemporary issues like poverty and gun violence. The film's conclusion forces audiences to confront the despair and futility experienced by the characters, making it a story that lingers long after the credits roll. And speaking of Stephen King adaptations that linger, there's one that deserves way more attention than it gets. Get ready to discover why Gerald's Game is an absolute masterclass in psychological horror. Gerald's Game, the underrated masterpiece that proves Stephen King adaptations can be profound. While the recent surge of Stephen King adaptations like The Long Walk garners attention, Mike Flanagan's 2017 film, Gerald's Game, remains a criminally underrated gem that deserves a prime spot in any King fan's viewing list. Based on one of King's lesser-known novels, Gerald's Game tells the story of Jessie Burlingame, Carla Gugino, who finds herself handcuffed to a bed in a remote cabin after her husband, Gerald Bruce Greenwood, dies of a heart attack during a BDSM game gone wrong. What follows is a masterclass in psychological terror and survival. Director Mike Flanagan, who would later achieve widespread acclaim for The Haunting of Hill House, considered Gerald's Game unfilmable. Yet, he defied expectations, crafting a tense, character-driven horror film that transcends its confined setting. The movie brilliantly utilizes Jessie's psychological state, conjuring imaginary versions of herself and Gerald to externalize her struggle and explore her deepest traumas. Gerald's Game is far more than a simple survival thriller. it's a profound character study. As Jessie battles dehydration and terror, her mind becomes the film's canvas, forcing her to confront a buried childhood trauma: sexual assault by her father. The film delicately yet unflinchingly portrays how repressed trauma can hold an individual prisoner, even years later. The movie eschews typical jump scares and excessive gore, opting instead for a slow-burn, phantasmagoric journey into Jessie's psyche. Audiences are hooked by the ambiguity of what's real and what's imagined, punctuated by unsettling imagery like a blood-red solar eclipse and the menacing presence of the Moonlight Man. However, when the film does deliver shocking moments, such as a gruesome degloving scene or the visceral depiction of sexual abuse, they are incredibly intense and impactful. Despite its challenging themes and psychological depth, Gerald's Game emerges as a story of resilience and empowerment. Eugenio delivers a tour de force performance, navigating Jessie's fear, vulnerability, and eventual strength. The film's unflinching approach to complex issues like trauma and abuse, combined with Flanagan's masterful direction, makes it a deeply affecting and significant adaptation. For fans of Stephen King and psychological horror, Gerald's Game is an essential watch, offering a harrowing yet ultimately empowering narrative that proves the most compelling stories often come from confronting our deepest fears and darkest memories. That's all the deep dives for today, but we're not done yet. Get ready for a rapid-fire recap of everything we covered, and a final call to action to keep you locked in with DripFeed. And that's a wrap on another DripFeed rundown. We dove deep into the incredible Stephen King adaptation year of 2025 with The Life of Chuck, The Monkey, and The Long Walk. We dissected the brutal ending of The Long Walk, celebrated the brilliance of Gerald's Game, and reminded you why Stephen King's stories continue to dominate cinema. If you loved this episode, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more awesome content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Follow us on all social platforms to stay connected. We'll catch you in the next one.